Thank you.
So we're basically at the Oscars. What's going to be in here? Sweet.
We do?
Awesome. Come on, phone. There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, look at me. I'm so prepared. Yeah. I don't know how to make this. Let's go airplane mode on this guy. I think. You think I brought my hat?
Two.
Check.
We'll get started in just a minute.
What's going on?
Good. How are you?
Good. Fabulous.
Good to see you.
All right, thank you everybody for being here. We also have folks joining us virtually, so for those of you who are watching the live stream, welcome. And thank you to our panelists. We have Ventura County Fire Department with us today, various roles and positions within the organization. Here to speak to you today about what they do, how they got into it, kind of their journey, and their career trajectory. So this is one of many in a multi-part series of our Career Speakers Series. Some of you may have been here for the Port. We had a Law Speaker Series event, and now we have Ventura County Fire. And I know a lot of folks, when they saw Ventura County Fire Department, thought it was just firefighters. We have a lot of folks here in a lot of different positions. So I'll go ahead and introduce them, and we can get started. I'm Dr. Shannon Treffs, by the way, Career Center team. I'll say my name too. Some of you know me already. Thank you again for being here. We have Captain Andrea Stanley here, thank you, and Captain Brian Heath down there, in no particular order, by the way. We have FCC Dispatch Jordan Roberts, the Assistant Communications Director Manager. We have Director of Communications and Public Affairs, Scott Thompson. Thank you for being here. Ryan Lee, our Fire Equipment Mechanic. We have Fire Inspector Masood Aragi, our Fire Marshal, excuse me. Thank you for being here. Jeff Weaver, a recruiter from HR. Tom Casper, Business Services Manager. And I think I missed somebody. Did I miss somebody? No, I got everybody, right? Okay, awesome. Thank you for being here. So I know there's a lot of folks from a lot of different majors here, and I'm really grateful for you being here. I'm grateful for our panelists being here, and let's go ahead and get started. All right, so no particular order. You can round robin. You can jump in whenever you want. But our first question is, what inspired you to pursue a career in this field, and how did you get started?
So quiet, I'll go. What inspired me to pursue a career in this field? How did I get started? So, kind of got turning wrenches later in life, but lived in San Diego with my now wife and kid, turning wrenches for a small construction company and learning my trade. And then I guess what inspired me to get here was my father was a paramedic for LA City. My mom was an ER nurse. And my dad called me one day and said, hey, the local fire department's going to start hiring. There's some positions going to be opening. And I went, oh, yes. That sounds cool, fire engines. So it was just kind of like already in the family. My uncle was a cop, so I figured that makes a lot of sense. And applied and got the job, and that was, what, 11 years ago?
Thank you.
I can go next. For me, it was actually quite by accident, to be honest with you. I graduated with an engineering degree in mechanical engineering. And at the time when I graduated, not to kind of give away my age, but it was kind of early 80s. And there was a recession. I couldn't find any jobs in engineering. And I happened to fall into fire protection systems. I started designing fire sprinkler systems and fire alarm systems for a private company. And an opportunity came up, a position came up in Ventura County Fire Department that I was lucky enough to be selected. It was a kind of a job that I was interested in. I became very interested. The more I did it, the more interested I got in this. So I got involved in fire prevention. And for those of you who have not been involved with fire prevention or haven't heard of it, it's mainly trying to get buildings safe, building things that are safe not only for the occupants, but for firefighters as they respond in a hazardous material, for example, a response to a hazardous material call in a building. We regulate the amount, the storage, the type of storage. We regulate exitings. We regulate all kinds of stuff for buildings, for occupants and firefighters, for the safety for lives and properties, and also for wildfires, protecting buildings from wildfires, all variety of things. So as I got more involved, I got more excited because I was more of a prevention-minded person. I thought it's better to have systems put in place that prevents fires or reduce the risks of fires to occupants than try to deal with the fire aftermath later. So that's where I started. That's what inspired me, all for the past 35 years.
I'll go ahead and go next. So kind of along the same lines, I didn't have more of a traditional start, as sometimes you might hear. At the time that I even started looking at the fire service, I was working 2 jobs, going to school full time, and I had some responsibilities at home to help out the family. I had never been exposed to the fire service. No one in my family worked in the fire service or law enforcement or any type of that background other than one grandfather who was in the military. So it was never really presented to me for whatever reason that was as something that was attainable. So in all honesty, I wanted to help people. So I was going to college to become a physical therapist in a sports background. And a friend of mine, and we went to a job fair and said, hey, I think being a firefighter would be cool. So it was, sure, let's do that. I knew I wanted to graduate with my degree because no one in my family had. But hey, let's take a look at this as something to do. And in all reality, once I started doing that, and absolutely kind of with everything else I do, put in hard work, I never looked back from there. The more that I started putting myself out there and getting exposed to the fire service, the more I fell in love with it. And so I took any and every test that I could. It was definitely a long process, but I'm glad that I stuck with it. And so just because we're all coming from, different places right now, so I am a fire captain, but more particularly right now, I'm one of our full-time fire arson investigators. So my mission is a little bit different now than when I was on an engine company as a fire captain, and particularly not too much difference. There's some overlap with prevention, right? Is I go out and I try to figure out origin and cause, why a fire started, right? In the hopes that we know we're always going to have fires, but is it something that we can prevent? And more particularly for my mission is the discovery, arrest, and prosecution of arsonists, right? So is actually making sure that there was no violation of criminal law that was the cause of that fire.
Excellent.
I'll go. So mine was kind of a long road to get to where I'm at. So I'm as the business services manager, I'm responsible for managing our finances for our department. And I think I gravitated towards this field because I was good at math, and it turns out I was good at accounting as well. And I actually started working for Santa Barbara County for their auditor controller's office part-time while I was going to school. I was putting myself through school, so I had 3 jobs, and then I saw that there was a career path in that direction. And so I actually ended up graduating with a political science degree, and I immediately went back to school through UCSB Extension because I knew that to go with this career and to go with the school, I needed to pursue a CPA. And so I looked at the courses I needed to complete for that those requirements. So UCSB, then 9 courses through UCSB Extension, and then sat for the CPA exam, and then eventually I got to this county, but I'll get to that later on.
Perfect.
So I actually started out in a career in journalism and did that for 20 years, and watched my industry dissolve, shedding 10,000 jobs or something like that over a decade. So through a series of hiring freezes, right sizings, downsizings, reorganizations, and every other piece, got to the spot of making the transition over into communications, where I could apply all of those same, figure out what's going on, understand it, turn that into to the story that you're trying to tell for your organization on the communication side. And I really gravitated towards public service, particularly in emergency management roles like with the fire department, because it really touched my core values of promoting public safety, helping people stay safe, and I've always looked at that as, if I get the right information to the right people at the right time, they get the opportunity to make good decisions and stay safe. And so while these guys go into buildings and pull them out of of fires, I'm keeping people out of the way of fires and working on the kind of the wholesale side of things, while they're working very personally one-on-one with individuals.
Hello, my name is Jordan Roberts, Assistant Emergency Communications Manager, so that's in dispatch. So if you call 911, you're going to get a hold of us. You're going to get a hold of law enforcement dispatch first. Then anything fire and medical related will be transferred to us. So actually kind of fell into this career. I went to college at Berkeley and studied biology, and was in my final year in the fall of 2001, I was taking an EMT class because I knew I wanted to be a firefighter and paramedic. My father was a firefighter for Gardena. And so I always knew that in the back of my head that I might want to do that. So that's what I pursued, and came down to paramedic school at UCLA, went there and took about 25 tests to get hired as a firefighter. Got hired with Ventura County up here, and had an illustrious 2-month career before I broke my femur. So I broke my femur, and as part of the light duty assignment, they had me in dispatch because they always need people in dispatch. And I spent about 3 years recovering from a broken femur. And at that point, kind of made the decision of, okay, is my femur strong enough to go back to firefighting? Maybe, but I learned to love the communications and dispatch career. And so that's kind of how I got into it. And so it wasn't necessarily something that inspired me, because it's an unknown career. A lot of people don't know about dispatch. They don't think about it too often. The firefighters are the face of the department, but there's a lot of people up here who have supporting roles and help the mission, and we're one of those as well. And every person who sits up here, their role is vital to the overall mission. And so what inspired me to stay was the organization, because we have a great organization, and it's very progressive with dispatch. A lot of people don't necessarily know that we're kind of a unique county. We're doing it the right way. We have an operational area approach, and that's very helpful for the citizens that we serve.
Thank you.
My turn. I'm Brian Heath, fire captain in the Wildland Unit. My story is pretty simple, but I have a question for you guys too. So here's my story. When a fire truck was going lights and sirens down the road, I was looking at it going, wow, that's pretty cool. Give me a raise of hands to see if you guys experienced the same thing. Yeah, so that was me. I was like, that's pretty cool. I want to do that, and I've really just focused my everything towards that. Starting in high school, going through the Explorer program when I was 17 years old in high school, and started out doing that, and I ended up loving it. So that's how I got into this career, and just getting exposed in that Explorer/cadet program through the high schools or through colleges. You get more exposure, you get to know friends and other people working in the fire service, so you can really get an education just by getting your foot in the door that way. So that's it.
Excellent.
I guess I'll say something too. So for me, in this career, I've been doing this for about 10 years being a public servant. For me, my parents are immigrants here, so, growing up, we had to rely a lot on public services. So to me, I know how important it was to have good public service, because again, it's really difficult when you don't know the language, you don't know a lot of customs, you don't know a lot of things. Like English was my second language, so a lot of it to me, it's really important to do what I do. I'm a recruiter for the department. I've been here for about a year, but again, I've been doing this for about 10 years now. And for me, landing here with all these individuals, it's a great opportunity for me to reach out to the community. I want the community to reflect what you see up here as the department, because a lot of times, there's maybe a disconnect between the people that, is serving you, but also looking out at the community themselves. It's not always a match. So for me, this is a great opportunity for me to kind of reach out and also give you a chance to know you could be one of these individuals up here. You could be the one helping your community day in and day out. So again, this is a great opportunity, and hopefully, you take something away and I can just be your person to help you out here.
Thank you. What academic or extracurricular activities have been most helpful in preparing you for your current role? And what advice would you give to a student considering a career in your field?
So I guess I'll start, and then we can just go down the line and make it easier for everyone. So again, kind of going off of the current role is, I would just say in general, just seek out any and every opportunity to be better, right? There's so many things out there that you can look up in terms of trainings and free education, and I'm definitely a big proponent of trying to look at things that are free of cost, right? That make it a little bit easier. But particularly for my position right now as arson investigator, there's a lot of things. Even if you're just interested, like what does she do? You can easily go online and even just put up a search about fire investigation and see some free classes that you can take to just even learn more about it. Like I said, just there's a lot of additional training and stuff that you could do. There's nothing in particular. Again, fire investigation is very sciencey. It is. We follow the scientific method. If shake your heads yes, if you've learned that at some point, and there's a very good reason for that. In terms of fire investigation, it's one of the most under-prosecuted crimes and one of the hardest to prove. So our expert opinion comes into play big time because, right, in terms of fires, although a lot of evidence can exist, your actual scene changes quite a bit compared to some other stuff. So if you're into science and stuff like that, I guarantee you would actually have a really good time trying to figure out, right? It's almost like solving something and putting those pieces together. And on top of that, not only do I get to do investigation work, but I get to do it in the fire realm. So I get to kind of explore fire dynamics and why things happen the way that they do. And I do believe it makes me a better firefighter in the field because it's what I study. I study what happens when I open doors or apply water or do things in certain ways and how it affects whether it's me on the outside or potentially someone on the inside to make things better for everyone.
Career in fire prevention, the academic part of it, it's actually Oxnard College has a great program in the fire technology. So taking classes in the fire technology, there are some 5 core classes that they offer that they go anywhere from fire behavior to conducting inspections, fire protection systems, any one of those courses as you take, you kind of get to know the realm of fire prevention. What are the things you need to look for? And then there are classes, as you go further in your career, there are classes with the state fire marshal. There are fire inspector classes. So if you go to State Fire Marshal website on their training site, there are a list of fire inspector classes, especially level 1 classes. They give you the basics of what you need to know. And that's where you get started. The other kind of things you can do is ride-along. We have a great ride-along program. You can sign up, you can come in and spend a day with one of our inspectors, go out in the field. It's a kind of a job that you are, once you get into it and you get good at it, it's more independent. You come in, you have files, you do your research, you get them, you go out and you, throughout the day, you're out in the field doing inspections. So if you are a kind of person who can work independently, great for you. You can kind of take these classes, kind of get to know what are the things you're good at, what are the areas you are interested in, and take off from there. So those are the things you can do to help yourself get started. What advice would I give you to consider a career in this field is start with the ride-along first, because see if that is for you, if this is something you're interested in, because it kind of gives you a flavor of what your day is going to look like, what you're going to be looking at, and if that is something you're interested in, then start taking classes. And by that, you build up enough to be able to get hired and then pursue your career beyond that in fire prevention.
As I mentioned before, I had to pay for my own school, so I had a number of jobs, and it really helped me determine what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do. So I was cleaning swimming pools, I was doing landscaping work, I was doing pizza delivery, and I was working part-time for the auditor controller's office, and I quickly learned that I'd rather use my brain than do the manual labor work. And I also saw the where the future could be, and these questions really make me think a lot about my daughter. She is currently going to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and she's graduating this year. And she is a psychology major, and she's trying to decide, hey, do I go to graduate school? But I'm not sure what area to focus in. And so my advice to her is the same to you all, and that is set broad goals, and then try out what you can within those broad goals. Try out different jobs, and it'll help you determine something that you like. And it's very rare that you're going to go right from college to a career job. And so I think that it's important to find out what you like and also what you don't like. And I think it's helping her not feel as overwhelmed, and it helps her answer those questions that everyone asks, what are you doing next? And then when you do find those jobs, like Masood said, take advantage of what those jobs offer. Oftentimes when you find a job, they're going to have training or help pay for that next step of school for you.
Yeah, my experience has been really similar. I fell into journalism originally and knew right away that I just loved what I was doing. And that was from, getting on the newspaper staff of my high school newspaper. And so from my junior year in high school, I knew that I was driven towards a particular career. And then later had to, shift to figure out where I was going to apply those same kind of skills and maintain that passion for what I do. So in many ways, kind of like this extracurricular activity of being on the newspaper staff showed me what I could get myself involved in. Today, rather than being, so driven by a, print version delivery of the news once a day, we're in a 24-hour news environment where social media skills are huge, multimedia skills, podcasting, a lot of things that many of you are probably already doing just on an aside, for fun, become really valuable skills. Video production, editing, creation, those are all things that you can apply to this realm, but there's going to be a ground level basis in strong writing and storytelling, because that's really what this is about, is effectively communicating good information about what your organization is doing, and when you get into an emergency scenario, what your community needs to learn in order to stay safe.
Cool. Yeah. I don't know how these things work. So what academic or extracurricular activities? That's pretty interesting. I never thought about that, but I'd always kind of been a gearhead, wrenching with my dad in the garage and stuff growing up, liked cars. But fast forward to after a lot of stuff, I volunteered for a race car team, like a Saturday night, circle track race car team, and it was a lot of fun. But what I realized was everybody else that was racing, all their day jobs were turning wrenches in some capacity. That guy owned a body shop. This guy had an alternator and starter repair shop. This guy worked at a dealership. And at the time, I wasn't doing this professionally at all. I was just doing it for fun. And that's when I started talking to people and asking around and seeing if anyone wanted to hire somebody like me who was interested and passionate, but had no schooling, no real world skills, you know, nothing on paper. And luckily someone did, and that's how I started. And then the guys that I worked for just kept teaching me and teaching me and teaching me. And then what advice would I give a student considering a career in this field? You gotta, I don't know, you gotta not be scared to work hard and get dirty. You know, work in the rain, work in the wind, be outside. But what advice would I give you is, it doesn't really matter what you work on. Like if you get a job at Jiffy Lube, take it. If you get a job at the Honda dealership, take it. It's all the same in the end. You know, big truck, little truck, boat, car, lawnmower, it's all the same. So just keep on keeping on. Just keep leveling up and trying new and different things. And usually, like everyone else here says, you just accidentally get funneled into the right spot in the end.
So, with regards to becoming a dispatcher, we don't have a whole lot of minimum requirements. You have to be 18, you have to have a driver's license, and you have to be able to type 35 words per minute, I believe. And we do that because we want the largest pool of people possible, and we want to hire people for their character and then train them to competence. So what I think would be the most helpful in preparing for that is being a lifelong learner, and you all being here right now displays that, because our academy is 1 year long, and we throw a lot of information and a lot of different challenges people's way. And I think the people who are most successful are the ones who are driven, who are committed, who have a commitment to lifelong learning. And because things are always changing in our field and with policies and with operations, and you have to be able to keep up with that. So I think that's the most important thing. And the advice I'd give to students considering a career in the field of dispatch is come do a sit-along, see what it's like. A lot of people have conceptions of what it might be, but when you sit down there and plug in with people, start hearing the 911 calls, every morning that we come into shift, people are waking up to finding their loved ones passed away overnight, and we're the ones taking the calls for that. So throughout the whole county, maybe 3 to 5 people every morning. That's either how you're starting your shift or ending your shift. So that's something you have to be prepared for mentally. Throughout the day, you're going to take overdoses, train wrecks. You're going to take all the flooding calls, the rescues, and you need to be able to maintain your composure and be able to direct people on how to handle those situations. So I think it's always appropriate for someone to come in and get an idea if that's something that they could see themselves in before they actually do it.
Okay, academic goals for everybody here, if you're interested. Oxnard College does have a great program out at Camarillo Airport. Start off by taking the FT series classes, and I think they're still named the same, like FT 151, 152, 54, yada yada, right? So sign up and take those classes. It's a satellite campus at Camarillo Airport, and you get to get introduced to the fire service that way. So academically, that's a start for the fire side. What else do firefighters do? We do medical calls. Okay, so EMT, emergency medical technician, would be something that you need to obtain. As of now, I'm not sure who offers that, but I think a couple places in Ventura County offer an EMT school. I know there are accelerated EMT schools that are like 5 days a week, and you complete it in 1 month. But that's totally capable of doing, right? So the activities, and a couple of these questions I'll hit on later, but extracurricular activities, if you want to be a field and in operations and be on the fire truck and be a firefighter, sports, team sports, be involved in some sort of team environment where you're used to working with others, where we are at the fire station for 24 hours a day, up to, a couple of days a week, or it could be 14 days in a row, 24 hours a day. Okay, so you need to be able to work with others, and that's a big deal. If your personality doesn't match with somebody, we need to work on that, right? So working with others, being in that team environment and having like a sports background or some sort of team environment background really, really helps to, you know, get yourself accustomed to that lifestyle, because it's pretty much a lifestyle when you're at the fire station. What advice I would give you, start off by doing a ride along. We see a lot of stuff that's bad, a lot of stuff that's good, right? If you have the personality and of like helping others, you want to be able to help others and succeed. That's a good thing to have, to be in the fire service, to be on the fire engine, because you go into somebody's home, like Jordan was saying, and their loved one passed away overnight, and you're actually there physically with them, trying to comfort them and do CPR and, you know, try and do your best to successfully revive that person. So you're heavily involved in that aspect of the fire service, but it just takes, you know, putting that, like I said, put that first step out there, take that first step, do a ride along, see if you like the job. You'll be exposed to some stuff, and that's really the beauty about the career, is you don't know what you're going to be doing or whatever the whole day. So yeah, that's it.
I just want to briefly mention, show of hands, who enjoys public speaking? All right. Who here would like some help with public speaking? Okay. Has anyone heard of Toastmasters? Oh, there's one hand. All right. Do you want to talk about Toastmasters? No. Okay. So Toastmasters is an international organization. They have one here, I believe, in Ventura, Oxnard. So what it is, it's a great opportunity for you to go. I think if you go on the first time, it's usually free, but if you wanted a membership, it's only like $20 a year. But it's a good chance for you to really join a group that's going to have a random topic, such like this, and then you're going to have people who are gutsy enough to come up and talk about it. So it gives you a chance to really put your speaking skills to the test. I know a lot of times public speaking, it's not, you know, not for everyone. Even myself, I think my knees are shaking really hard here, but you can't really see, which is great. That's why we have a table. But again, it's a good opportunity for you to really learn a skill or hone in on a skill. Because a lot of the times here, my manager told me today, hey, Jeff, you're going to this. And I said, do I really have to? Yes, you do. Now I'm here in front of you. So, you know, I'm always nervous about, you know, the things I say. But again, Toastmasters is a great opportunity. I went to a couple classes. Again, do what you can to hone your skills. Because a lot of times you're going to come across some of these individuals and you're going to do an interview. And how well are you going to be able to communicate? So again, Toastmasters is a good opportunity. Check it out. It should be free. And then after a couple of classes, I think it's like $20.
Thank you. I heard a couple themes in there, setting goals, but a lot of what I heard was put yourself out there and try it out. Hey, put yourself out there and try it out. Okay. Can you discuss any challenges and successes that stand out in your current job, and how do you overcome the challenges?
All right, a little closer here. So some challenges within my current role at the department is definitely going to be the criminal law side. I think, in fact, probably for most firefighters who become firefighters is partially to not do criminal investigations and go out there and conduct interviews and actually be involved on the criminal law side of things. So that was a very big jump for me when I stepped into this position, although I was very aware that that was going to be a huge portion. It's just something that we typically do not handle in the fire service. So it was a lot of additional training and constant training on penal codes and jury instructions and all these things that when I first got hired on, just didn't have a reason to actually think about. So that's probably one of my current biggest challenges, and making sure, and the reality is, right, we all have huge responsibilities for different areas sitting up here for the fire department, but particularly for me is the possibility of taking or being a piece of that puzzle of taking someone's liberties away, and that is a huge responsibility, and no one wants to get that wrong. So is making sure that I have a full understanding of what's going on in the situation and a full understanding of the law, so that way, right, we don't get that wrong. And how to get better is kind of like what we discussed, is just being a student of your craft, right? So there's so many different opportunities to stay on top of it, as well as just being self-motivated, right? I'm the one that has to be responsible for making sure that that information is understood, as well as reaching out to the right mentors and people who can help guide me along the way, because there is a lot for us to know, no matter which realm you decide to choose, but there's people out there that want to help you and guide you and help you with that information.
Okay, I'm gonna talk about challenges, a couple of different kind of challenges. One, when I started in this career, which most of you are going to be at the time when I was young like you, the challenge was balancing your career and life. I was married, I had a daughter recently born when I started this career. And when I came out of school with my engineering degrees, I knew I want to go further. I wanted to get a degree in fire protection engineering, and I wanted to be licensed with the state of California. I wanted to go further. So, but having a young family and trying to balance those, it was difficult. The challenge was there, trying to stay after work for several hours, studying for the exams, studying for the license exams, studying for next class. It was a challenge. So those are the challenges that you are going to face because you're young, you get married, you have kids, and a career, and you don't want to stop right there. You want to go further. So that is the challenge of balancing the life and work at the same time. Then later on in the career, the challenge that I'm having right now, because I manage the Fire Prevention Bureau, my challenge is to make sure my staff is taken care of. Make sure they're getting the right tools they need to do their job. Make sure they're supported. Make sure they are advancing in their careers. Make sure there are opportunities for those advancements. So those challenges are always going to be there. You're always going to have a challenge in your life. It's just going to look different at this different stages of your life. So you just got to stick with it. And the way to go through it is to look at it and accept it. For me, that's how it was. I accepted what it was, and I overcome by just being persistent at it. I knew where I want to go. I was focused on where I wanted to be, and I just stayed on that path. I didn't let anything just kind of deter me from that path. And that's how I got to where I am. Now, how do you overcome the challenges? Like I said, stay focused. The challenge is in front of you. It's always going to be there. Just stay focused and have that in mind where you want to be. If that is clear in your mind, then it's easier to get there.
Thank you.
So challenges for me are actually keeping good staff. So the way it works in the county of Ventura is all departments have accounting departments. So there are hundreds of accounting positions throughout the county. And so employees have opportunities to promote. If I don't have that position available, they have an opportunity to promote somewhere else. So keeping those employees is a challenge. And something that I learned when I was in Santa Barbara County is how important a positive work environment is. And so I had a boss change in Santa Barbara, and that department I was working for there had about 60 people in their administration, and we lost over half of them due to this one particular boss. And I had people that I wanted to promote, and they didn't even want to take the job because the environment had changed. And so I realized that when I got this job, that creating the positive environment there was hugely important to be able to help retain staff. And so now I get a great deal of success on helping employees grow within their abilities in our department. And I'm okay if they go somewhere else, if they promote. You know, I look at it as a failure if they leave for other reasons. And so I've had very few over my career that have left for those reasons. So the challenge is, like I said, keeping good staff, and successes are helping staff grow and succeed in their careers.
Thank you.
I'll talk about two challenges in the communications world. The first is the speed at which information moves today. If something bad happens or one of our folks makes an error. How many of you are carrying a cell phone right now that has a camera on it? Right? When I started in my career, you had you had the morning, TV broadcast, you had the evening TV broadcast, and you had the newspaper. Then news websites came into it, but when you get into YouTube and the others, and the spread of cell phone technology has really democratized information sharing. Like to age myself, when I was young, it was film at 11. It's because it took a professional news organization all day to take one story that they would have film on, that they had shot 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, chemically developed it, dried the film, cut it by hand, patched it together to show on the news that evening. Today, one of our folks makes a mistake in public. There are 3 people with their phones out to take that and post it to YouTube, and it's gone internationally in seconds. Okay? My team has to keep up with that pace of information exchange. And so we need to constantly be monitoring what is taking place, being able to get a full understanding of what has taken place and understand what we are going to do about whatever the thing is that has happened, if it's a bad thing, or what are we doing to, what is the right information to share with folks to get them to do things to be safe from this external event that is about to happen to them. Okay? That's a big challenge, and it's vigilance and being nimble and quick and ready to respond in very short order, because time is not your friend, okay, in this role. The other thing that is a big challenge and has been a growing challenge over about the last decade is the gap in trust between the public and government in particular. We're more tribal as a country right now. There's a lot of division that takes place, and even fire departments are not trusted as deeply as they used to be. Media has blurred the lines between news coverage and commentary in such a way that you can't distinguish the two of them. And so people gravitate towards, who's telling me what I want to hear. And that's magnified by social media. We have to combat that in a way, and we go about doing that, by being honest, transparent, accessible, and accountable, in a way that shows, here's what's happened, here's what we're doing about it. If we've made a mistake, we own it, and here's what we're doing to make sure that doesn't happen again. Or these are the things that are risks out there that that you all are facing, and trying every day to establish ourselves and reestablish ourselves and cement ourselves as a trustworthy source of information. It's reputation management, because once you lose it, it's really hard to get it back. And so that is a big piece of my job.
All right. I don't know, my challenges seem way more narrow focused, I guess, than some of the other stuff I'm hearing. Like, I don't have anybody's liberty on the line or the face of the fire department or anything like that. But my challenge, my day is challenges and successes. I mean, that go to a broken fire engine, you have a challenge. You got to figure out, why, what you need to do to fix it, and then hopefully by the time I leave, success. And then you go to the next one, challenge, success, and then you go to the next one. And it's just like that all day long. And then how do I overcome challenges? I call Albert. So, we got a bunch of fire mechanics, and if I get to a point where I don't know what to do next, phone in a friend and see if they've ever had that happen before, or I'll invite them out to come help me out, and we just all do that. We go to where the action's at. We all have our different skill sets. We got guys that are real good at electrical and wiring, where you have a guy that's real good at diagnosing suspension and components and steering complaints. So you have to use your pool of people to get the job done. Another challenge I have is self-managing and prioritizing, right? I have a handful of things that I'm responsible for, 8 fire stations and all their equipment that's there. And then, so each fire engine has three guys that drive it, or 3 firefighters that drive it, times 8, times there's a couple more. So there are several personalities that I have to deal with. So each day I get to a fire engine, not only do I have to fix the fire engine, but I have to effectively communicate with a new person who speaks in a slightly different language than the last guy. But I mean, it's fun. We usually always get there. Luckily, there's nothing on here about what do you do when you fail, because it's not kind of not an option. We can't just throw the fire engine in the trash. So we always figure it out in the end.
If I may, real quick, Ryan. So just because Ryan is very humble and he may say he doesn't deal with liberty and other things in narrow focus, the reality is what his job is. We cannot do our jobs. Literally, the first second I saw him, I was like, Ryan, I have this. Can you fix this? My truck, right? If they don't do their job appropriately, then the fire department cannot do their job. And that's sitting for everyone up here. I was an engineer for a while, and I drove a fire engine. And most of my preparation wasn't just how to pump a hose line and get water. I spent weeks with Ryan trying to learn that engine inside and out so I could do my job appropriately. And if those engines aren't running, if our engine goes down and they don't come out, we don't get to respond to calls, right? We don't get to help the public. So his role is just as important to make sure that we're safe as well as we're safe on the road. Because if they don't do their job and something's wrong with the fire engine and we're driving it, that's over 42,000 pounds of weight on the road, and it's a big responsibility. Sorry, I just had to say that, Ryan.
Thank you.
So our biggest challenge is staffing, and it's at nationwide. Communication centers, 911 dispatch centers are at crisis levels. There are a number of 911 centers that don't have enough people to take calls. People might wait 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes to talk to a human on the other line. And so that's a nationwide crisis. I also do a little bit of consulting for dispatch on the side, and right now there's an agency who is looking at all contingencies to, not around here, but there's agencies looking at contingency plans in case they can't take the calls. And they're calling their partner agencies, and their partner agencies are in the same boat. And that's something that's going on nationwide. With us, we're very lucky at the fire department. We have a lot of support. Our staffing issue, we had about 7 people. Our minimum staffing levels for the whole center are about 24. I'd like them to be 26, but we were at 28 a couple years back, and we had about 7 people leave. So we're below our minimum staffing levels. We lost about a quarter of our staffing over about a period of a year for various reasons. And that's for people getting promoted or getting jobs as firefighters, moving into different careers, having families, moving for other spouses' jobs, those sorts of things, people retiring. So we're rebuilding that now, and that's one of the biggest challenges. So we're always looking for people, and the way that we address that or overcome that is with teamwork. That's kind of a theme here. So I can't do it without Tom, who helps me know how many allocations I have and the funding, and Scott helps us get out there on social media and get recognized that, hey, dispatchers exist. This is the work we do, so people have an understanding of it. If we have a recruitment, they're able to help out with that. Jeff's been invaluable to us over the last year. He's really hit it hard with us and came up with a couple of new recruitment strategies for lateral recruitments from other agencies. So just Monday, we started a class of 5 people from, most of them from local agencies that wanted to lateral over. So unfortunately, they're losing people, we're gaining them, but it's a team effort, and being able to staff is critical. So that's it.
All right, I'm going to start off with successes, because I like successes. How about a success of delivering a baby in somebody's house, right? Success, like huge success, right? How about doing CPR and saving somebody's life? That's a success. You have a lot of successes in this career, but they come with challenges, and those challenges you have to be able to work through, like, and prioritize those challenges on scene. So real world operations, we walk outside here, go on Rose Avenue and watch 2 or 3 cars wreck. Okay, you have a challenge, right? What are you gonna do? How are you gonna get through that challenge? And how are you gonna be successful in the end? So there's different priorities and there's different thought processes that have to go through your head, through training and through schooling, to be able to be successful in the end. So challenges they're all over the place. Every single call when the bell goes out at the fire station is a challenge. It could be a medical emergency challenge. We are not doctors. Some of us are paramedics. Most of us are EMTs. We cannot diagnose people out in the field, but we can, be trained and have the experience that shows okay, they're having some sort of breathing problem. We can go down the breathing problem road for a medical emergency. We show up to a house on fire. What's the challenge there? How are we going to fight the fire? How are we going to fight the fire safely? Where are we going to put people? Where are we going to put ladders? Where are we going to stretch the hose lines? Where are we going to put the water? Where's the fire hydrant? Where's the fire engine going to park? Are we going to be there for a long time? We're going to need feeding. So there's a ton of those what ifs that play into this, to the operational world in the fire department. Wildland fires is what I'm doing currently. Fire starts on the side of the hillside, and it goes, 60 acres in the first hour, then 7,000 in the second hour. What do you do? Where are your challenges? So you have to think through that and keep your people safe. Starting off speaking of the challenge, Swiftwater Rescue just is going out in Fillmore. So Swiftwater Rescue, somebody hops in the river, what are you gonna do? So there's training and there's opportunity for success on every single call. Is every single call gonna be successful have a successful outcome? No. So mental health wise, the average person goes through 40 to 60 critical incidents in their lifetime. Firefighters and then a general fire service go through 400 to 600 critical incidents throughout their lifetime. So that's something that you have to be prepared for and talk through. And most fire departments, including ours, have a superb mental health program that you could work through problems with your mental health and see some stuff that you really aren't supposed to see. So that's a true real life situation. How do you overcome the challenges? Through training and schooling and being engaged. So it's what we call having situational awareness, or SA. Situational awareness, for example, I walked in this room, I know there's 5 exits in this room. Right. I know where the fire extinguisher's at. I know that door right there is going to be a huge challenge to get through if I'm on the other side and need to get in here for, to suppress a fire. I know how, the room layout. So it's being situationally aware of your environment and knowing what you're getting into. So you walk up to a house on fire, you see there's fire on the right-hand side of the house. You walk in the door and there's no doors going to the right-hand side of the house. Then it's well, maybe you get into the right side of the house through the door on the right side, outside of the house. So you have to keep a bigger picture of some things too on situational calls. So those are the challenges, and being really just staying truly engaged to the craft is pretty important to be able to have a successful outcome.
I'll just be really brief. As far as success and challenges, we get 1,000 applications for a firefighter. Out of 1,000 folks, we have to dwindle that down to maybe about 20, 30 folks. So, I rely heavily on the team to really figure out, who's going to be a really good match. I know a lot of times people will have that great background, and sometimes you're able to communicate that, sometimes you aren't. So that makes it difficult for us to truly decide if you're going to be part of the family that again, my job, my responsibility is to make sure we hire the best, because the best are going to probably be there for your friends and family at their hardest moment. So again, for me, it's such a difficult task to do, but I'm up for the challenge. So again, I want you to be able to, when you do interview, let's say you are on the other side trying to be a firefighter or any of these positions, make sure you present yourself effectively. Talk about what you've done as far as your experience goes and how that relates to the job. If you don't have specific experience related to, let's say, a question, talk about your transferable skills. Talked about, how you worked at this restaurant and this happened and I did this and this is the outcome. Talk about those experiences. Don't sell yourself short. Say, oh, no experience, no experience. Don't do that. Give yourself a chance, and again, be effective in your communication.
So basically what Mr. Weaver is saying is come to the Career Center and do a mock interview. Okay. Thank you. You guys have so wonderfully answered most of these questions. So for the sake of time, I'm going to jump to the last two and kind of combine them a little bit. So first of all, what do you think sets successful professionals in the field apart from those who may not succeed? And are there any entry-level positions or internships you'd recommend for students to pursue in order to be the successful professional?
So we're talking about common themes here. So kind of jumping to that is some of the biggest things that I think that all of us have experienced in this career, independent of the paths that we took, is being able to put yourself out there and expose yourself to humility and vulnerability. We really do that every day, right? And that's, if we boil that down, is taking those chances and knowing that everything that you're doing right now, those life experiences, have prepared you for all of our careers, right? But it's also about self-motivation. The only person that I have to convince that I am capable of doing a job is myself. But with that being said, I can't just tell myself that I can do it. I have to put in the hard work, and I have to put in the time and energy to be prepared to do that job. I can't just go, yeah, I can do anything I want and not have prepared for it. So I think that's what sets those of us that are successful, self-motivated, willing to put ourselves out there, understanding that, right, failure is temporary. We're humans. We're going to make mistakes, and obviously there's a sliding scale of mistakes that you can make, right? But we're all trying to do the right thing, and you have to learn when things don't have an outcome. Just like Captain Heath said, not everything comes out great, but there is one constant thing that happens when the public calls. Coming out to a call, whether in any of our positions, and going, and just turning our back, that's not an acceptable answer, right? So at least being able to problem solve and adapt to the situation. In terms of internships, I don't want to take away too much stuff, so I'll just say, like some starting is again, everything can help lead you, but looking in terms of EMT for the fire service wise, EMT paramedic, I won't take the wildland stuff, but there's other avenues in terms of arson investigation or fire investigation. Again, the internet is your friend because there's a lot of information and a ton of different requirements that, depending on the actual department, for my position, you do need to be, it's a sworn position. So every single person in our unit came from the field. So you would have to be successful as a firefighter before you can enter into our unit. So we've kind of talked about the successes there. And we have Explorer programs, and just in case other people are going to get into that. So there's a lot of opportunities, but on the arson side, you do need to actually come from the field for our department.
Okay, so what sets you to be a successful professional in this field? Number one, be hungry. Educate yourself. Continue the education path. Even when you get a job, don't stop there. Continue taking classes, continue going to seminars, certification, more courses, whatever you can do to advance yourself further and further. Talk to other people. Be a good communicator, not only to the public, but also with other coworkers. You learn a lot from each other. Other people have done it. They have done it for a longer time. But you talking with them, you learn more. Part of your job as a fire inspector will be to educate the public, because the public doesn't know all the codes, all the requirements. You are supposed to be able to communicate that in a fashion that it is understood and it is acceptable. When you go and ask somebody to do something that is going to cost them money to do it, you want to be able to articulate that in a way that that person understands it, how it's going to benefit that person in the long run, and why is it a life safety feature that you are requiring. So communication, taking classes, being able to be a public speaker, also being able to communicate clearly helps you a lot. Another item is be organized. When you conduct an inspection, you have to be very methodical. You have to be very thorough. You have to be able to start from outside and look at the access, look at water, look at the building, look at exiting, look at the contents of the building, look at the storage of the material. You have to be very methodical, so be organized. And part of that organization is for you to be able to document, because part of all the things you do, it has to be documented. With all of us, it's the same thing, sitting up here. You have to be good at writing. You have to be able to good at communicating. Those are all going to set you for success. And also part of entry-level positions, right? Like I said earlier, right along is the best way for you to start. It gives you a flavor of what you're looking at. Start with that and see if this is something you're interested in. And if it is, there are many opportunities after that for you to follow and get better at it and be successful in this position. That would be my recommendation.
I think to be successful in any one of these positions, you have to care about your job. And I think care creates the desire to do a good job. And when I started with the fire department, I knew accounting, but I knew nothing about what the business of the fire department was. And so that's what I did. I was curious. I wanted to know. So I thought all we did was we went to fires, and I found out, well, hey, no, there's a lot more than that. We do EMS, and we have USAR and hazmat and fire investigation. And then I figured out what fire prevention was. And then all the support that we have to go into the department, like vehicle maintenance and our fiscal department and IT and telecom. And there's just, it's huge, that all the stuff that we do as a department. And so I think to be successful, you have to care about that, not just do the bare minimum. Those that do the bare minimum just for a paycheck, then you're not going to go very far. So if you care and really dive into whatever career you choose, that's how you're going to be successful. And I think there are plenty of positions within the county at entry level and a number of careers that you know, in the majors that you all have. And like I said before, I think it's important to test the waters. You know, if you got a part-time job right now, well, why not try a part-time job with the county, you know, in your career, and that may, or in your major, and that may help you decide that, yeah, this is great for me, or maybe I need to make a turn and do something different.
I agree with Tom that passion is a big key to this in any one of these roles. With what I do there, and a lot of these, there are any number of skills that you can point to that are important in the job, but those are table stakes. Those are things that you have to be able to do in order to just function in the job. If you're going to succeed, if you're going to be a standout, you know, you've got to care, like Tom was saying. You've got to have integrity and accountability. So when Andrea mentioned something happens, something goes sideways, you've got to own that and be out in front of that and be willing to stand there and take that and be accountable for it. You've got to be honest about what you do, because particularly in this role, working for this department, you work for the public. They own the department. Every single one of you owns the Ventura County Fire Department. We are responsible to you, okay? And so, you know, if there is something going on that you have questions about, we need to be able to answer them, you know, and, you know, that is a big responsibility, and the people that are able to step up in those areas stand out, and those that don't tend to move on to other areas pretty quickly.
All right. Any internships or entry-level positions I'd recommend? So we have, I think, one, maybe two intern spots in our fire shop right now. So it's kind of hard to get, but it exists right there. But like I think I mentioned earlier, in my field of work, just any kind of experience is going to be good experience. I started at the bottom, literally like checking air pressures and oil levels, and then I just kept moving up and moving up and moving up. And even when I came here, I didn't know anything about all the fancy stuff they put on fire engines. I knew the motors, the transmissions, the go, stop, and turn, but all the like lights, bells, and whistles and all that stuff, totally new. What do I think sets successful professionals in this field apart from those who struggle? Just like we came down the line, it's passion. Anyone can spin on an oil filter and take it off. I mean, I could teach almost anybody to do the nuts and bolts part of the job, but in just like they were saying, in this fire department and in this field in particular, you gotta want to do a good job. That's the big difference, I think.
So we do have, the County of Ventura does have high school and college intern programs. We currently have an intern from Cal State Channel Islands who's been exposed to dispatch and been helping us out with our scheduling and staffing issues and gathering information for us. So we do have opportunities throughout the county with that. We were lucky enough to get one. We're also working on developing a high school program. They have a couple throughout the country, but a high school program that exposes kids to the possibility of going into dispatch. That's further down the line, but that's something that we're looking into. What do I think sets successful professionals in the field apart from those who struggle? Again, passion, commitment to public service. We can tell if people are faking it or if people are coming in and punching a clock and they don't have it in them. And when you do have, at the end of the line, we're there to serve the public, and we're all very committed and passionate to that. And it's not just a job for us; it's a career, and it's a lifestyle and a commitment. And you see that in the work that we all do here. And if someone doesn't have that, we can tell right away. People, come over and. I've hired a couple people recently. It's one of those things where it's clear that their heart isn't in it. They're not putting in the effort. They're not putting in the time to make sure that they do a great high-level job. And that just doesn't work out for us. So that's one of the things, being a lifelong learner and also being able to multitask. So everyone who's texting right now, you're multitasking right now. So it's a lot more. It's a lot more prevalent lately, so that part of the job is very important, being able to talk, type, hear, carry on multiple conversations, and that sort of thing.
Okay, are there entry-level positions? Yes. I supervise some entry-level positions. The position is called fire control worker. They're wildland firefighters that we hire, and it's the most basic entry-level firefighter position that the County of Ventura has. So basically, you're on a fire crew for wildland fires, and you could go to the county HR website, which I'm sure Jeff will go over to find out some more information. So that's entry level. Entry level, like I said, is going out and being a cadet, being an explorer, being just going out and station visit, doing a ride along, right? So showing interest is one of those big deals. The second question, what sets successful professionals apart? I just have a couple quotes. Without failure, there is no success, right? You're always going to fail, and then you're going to lead yourself to success through dedication and determination. You have to have that in this field. You're going to fail. And when you fail, it's actually a good thing, because you have to relearn whatever you're doing and try it again. And as soon as you learn to juggle, you're going to get really good at juggling, right? First time you're going to fail. That's just part of life. So same thing in this career too. So you have to be willing to accept failure and also learn from your failures to become a better person and a better firefighter in this career. And if you don't try, you've already failed. So if you don't try at all, just, you already failed. So that's it.
I just realized I essentially recruited just in this past year for each one of these folks up here. And there are opportunities. I know it's far and few in between, and sometimes some of these requirements are maybe too much on the front end, but there are opportunities. And show of hands, after listening to all of us, who wants a job with the county? Keep your hands up if you're still looking for a job with the county. Great. So if you want to go online right now, there is college student worker. As long as you have 9 units, and some departments might ask for 12 units, we're actually hiring right now. It's up there. It's called college student worker. So if you go to ventura.org, go to HR, look at the jobs. College student worker is your best opportunity to get in. Little to no experience, but again, you've got to be able to set yourself apart when they actually do the interviews. And then after college student worker, you can do that up to 2 years. So it's a great opportunity for you, because I'm sure sometimes when you go on these interviews, they ask you, so tell me about your experience. You're like, I don't have any experience, I'm going to school. They're like, well, then we can't hire you. Then you're like, how do I get experience if you're not going to give me a chance to get experience? So again, this is your best opportunity to get your foot in the door. And again, a lot of these jobs are foot in the doors. And again, you might be going to school, for example, for business, and you go, but there's so many things to do in business. Do I want to do marketing? Okay, great, I'll do marketing. But then you might take an internship and do it, and you're like, ooh, I don't want nothing to do with marketing. And all of a sudden you realize, oh, maybe there's finance. I like numbers. And next thing you know, you're just going to grow that exponentially. So again, get your foot in the door, and this is your best chance to get your foot in the door, because the job is open now. So after this, you can go and apply, and when they're ready to interview, just be ready for the interview. If you have opportunities to do mock interviews, take that chance, because again, sometimes in your head, you feel like you're gonna go confident, talk about all these wonderful things, and next thing you know, you didn't even sell yourself. You probably just said a bunch of jargons that you read online. People wanna hear those keywords, but again, you've gotta be able to really resonate with the people across from the table to know that I'm very passionate about that job. This is the job I really want. You know, I don't care if I'm doing little nuts and bolts, changing oil. I'll do it. I'll learn it. And then eventually, a manager's going to see you. A manager's back there and just go, you know what? I really like this person. Let's give him a chance. Hey, guess what? There's going to be a job opening. Then you have a chance to learn some of this with the people that you have that's working with you. Another thing on top of that, so let's say, you know, you've exhausted it for 2 years. There's the public service internship. We do that once a year. I could tell you there's about 20 or so people that I listen to on a Zoom. Half of these folks are not prepared. One guy's background's not looking good. He's somewhere tropical island. Person's not making eye contact. So there's all these little things. And I was fortunate enough to hire 5. 5 of the 18 that we had, I hired 5 for all these different departments. For Jordan, for Wildland, for PIO, myself and HR. It's a good opportunity, again, for you to just get that experience, and we pay you, which, again, a lot of these internships may not pay you or pay you next to nothing. But again, it's your opportunity to get your foot in the door and explore the job and see if this job is for you. Because why are you going to go through 4 years of college and realize that job's not for you, you know? So again, take advantage of those little things. Also, too, if there's a job that's out there now and maybe it's not open, fill out a job interest card. A job interest card will let you know in the future when that job opens up, let's give it a chance to apply. For example, right now I'm doing a recruitment for fire control workers. You know, I had 300 applications. Now I'm down to like about 50 folks that are going through. And these 50 folks have an opportunity to get permanent jobs. But again, it's a seasonal job, but it's an opportunity to prove themselves. And I would say the last 2 things I would say is college job fairs. I know Oxnard just had one here in March, but check those out. You know, get in touch with people, put your face out there, you know, and also too, talk to a recruiter. Recruiters would love to hear from you, you know. Reach out after this. I'll give you my email. It's jeff.weaver@ventura.org. Send me an email saying, hey, I saw you at the speaking series. You know, I would love to learn more about this job. And if it's not particularly a fire, I'll get you connected to somebody else. You know, make and grow your network, because again, a lot of the times to be successful, you have to have sometimes a foot in the door, whether you do it yourself or you know somebody that has an opportunity. You got to put your face to a name and get out there. Don't be afraid to take advantage of what's out there. I think a lot of people really sell themselves short, so don't do that to yourself. Don't harm yourself. give yourself a chance. And again, reach out to me. I'll be your first connect. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, create one. I'll be your first person on there, and I'll, be able to grow your network from there.
So I heard jeff.weaver@ventura.org?
That's correct.
Okay, and then for applying for the internships and potential entry-level jobs, was it Ventura?
Ventura.org.
Ventura.org,
Yeah.
okay. I hope you're either typing that into your phones, writing it down. Some of you may have stellar memories, but make sure you're taking note of that, okay? All right, can we give a big round of applause to our panelists? Thank you so much for sharing your experience, your expertise, coming here and spending your time. This is really phenomenal for our students to get to meet you. There's so much great information shared about your jobs, but also how to obtain them. So again, one more round of applause. Thank you so much for being here. And please grab some food and coffee on the way out.
I'll be hanging out for a few minutes if any of you
Yeah, come chat.
auto diesel guys have any more questions.
Thanks, everybody.
That's for you. That's for you, yeah, absolutely. All of these packages.
I just see the end product, not the package.
Yeah. I've been trying not to do that.